Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Sarah Audsley, and I'm the Writing Across Media Facilitator here at Vermont Studio Center. It is my deep pleasure to introduce our two readers tonight. This is a paired reading, so we get the pleasure of hearing two poets read and discuss their work. Our Writer to Writer series does that. We pair two writers to read and be in conversation together. I've really enjoyed curating this series, and I'm so happy to have Kerrin McCadden and Matthew Lippman read for us tonight. Kerrin McCadden is the author of American Wake, which will be out this month from Black Sparrow Press, and Landscape with Plywood Silhouettes, winner of the Vermont Book Award and the New Issues Poetry Prize, and a chapbook, Keep This to Yourself, winner of the Button Poetry Prize. She is the recipient of fellowships from the National Endowment for the Arts and the Vermont Studio Center, as well as the Sustainable Arts Foundation Writing Award. She lives in Burlington, Vermont. Matthew Lippman's collection, Mesmerizingly Sadly Beautiful, won the 2018 Levis Prize and is published by Four Way Books. He has published 5 other collections of poetry, including The New Year of Yellow, winner of the Catherine A. Morton Prize from Saraban Books, Salami Jew, American Chew, winner of the Burnside Books Prize, Monkey Bars, and A Little Gut Magic. He is the editor and founder of the web-based project Love's Executive Order. Matthew, I just want to let you know that I was really enjoying those weekly poems, and I'm glad that you can archive that project and we can move on together.
Yeah, me too.
As a country. For those of you who don't know, Love's Executive Order was a project that was started and was going to last as long as President Trump was in office. So maybe Matthew can talk a little bit about that, or that might come up in conversation. And Kerrin and Matthew, I'm turning it over to you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us. So Matthew and I talked about doing this back and forth where one of us reads a poem and the other chooses a poem in response to it. And I'm going to go first, correct? Where'd you go, Matthew?
Correct.
All right. So I'm going to go, I'm going to read a new poem that I wrote during the pandemic. Just because I think it just gives me a second to say it's really hard to write during a pandemic. It's really hard to feel creative. And I think a lot of people are struggling with it. And this is one of very few poems I've written in the past year. It's called Thanks. And first of all, thank you all so much for coming. Thanks. Wanton as a houseplant, I give thanks. There's medicine in medicine chests for husbands. There are highways for when we can travel again, guardrails for momentary lapses, paths between neighborhoods where we can pretend to get lost. At night, there are keepers of light in houses across the world and keepers of dark. In lighthouses, there is darkness. In houses of the holy, great pews wait for psalms. Oh, the faithful, thanks for them too. I want to know what works, what to fix in the world caroming through space. Thanks for space, for the endlessness that keeps trying to say something, and we keep trying to listen, asking, who is up there? I spin a long yarn here, or imagine I do, soapboxes I remember, proclaiming whole moods of cleaning the baseboards with an old sponge, worrying I'd fall in love with cleaning, suddenly, like I fell for my husband. Who's to say I don't wish I were my young neighbors, raising babies one by one? Thanks to them for taking old toys off my hands, for keeping little bodies safe in spite of the panic. Thanks to my son for keeping breathing those nights when I watched every breath. All the days of work I missed in wonder of him, and in wonder of the sky, blue when the towers fell, and now gray when endless Americans are dying alone, awake and asleep. Breath a great failure nationwide. Land to Goshen, I give thanks for this short street, tiny jut along the thoroughfare, divided lights like eyes watching the channels turn off at night. The ant fights telling us it is time to go to sleep. back when the world knew a thing or two about stopping, about staking a claim amid the online shrapnel. My hands are tied tonight, palm to palm, fingers toward the sky of my ceiling, knees on the floor of my childhood, asking Super Ball on a string for grace, seance for wishes, a sandbox full of sifters I hold mid-shake, letting what will fall, fall, what will stay, stay.
So I've been thinking a lot about poems and pop songs and Kerrin's work because this has been something on the radar for a while, and the poems. What I want from a poem as a reader is for it to make me feel like a pop song. And there are very few poets or poems that make me feel that way for whatever reason. That's my own pathology. But Kerrin's poems, when I read her poems, I feel the same way I feel when I'm listening to a really good pop song, like Everybody Wants to Rule the World, or Let's Get It On, or, you know, songs like that. So my radio show segue from your poem has to do with repetition. And so I'm going to read a poem that riffs off the repetition of your poem. It's called I'll Sing With You. I used to sing all the time at the bus stop, in the bus, when I got off the bus on Columbus, and then down Columbus, all the way to Lincoln Center, the Met. I'd walk into the Met, open my mouth, not because I thought I was Maria Callas or Jesse Norman or Luciano, big old beautiful Luciano. I'd sing like Bob Dylan, but better. And I'd sing into the Carnegie Deli, into the pastrami and kosher dills. I'd belt out Baba O'Reilly and forget my name and remember my girlfriend, the one I wrote all those songs for but couldn't make melodies for. The kind of singing that makes you believe love is everywhere and everything and has no words, is just sounds. And sometimes the superintendent of my building would join in, Miguel, and sometimes it would be my sister, and then my landlord, and my mother, and other times all of Manhattan and half of Brooklyn, and most definitely the quiet part of Queens. And you know what? I miss it because now I look for people to sing with, but it's hard to find them in the street, on the sidewalk, at the garbage dump. So when I'm at the bagel store with my kid and I break into a sweat and start to sing, she says, "Shut up. No shit, shut up." And I'm like, "Hey ho, you too." With which she replies, "It's embarrassing." And I get it, I got it. I'm her dad and she's almost 12, but we're all dying out here and I can't sing in my head anymore quietly. I need the songs to join the world with other people. Come smashing through my teeth, teetering on the edge of my tongue, breaking down bus stops, buses, Greyhounds, and mass transits, and even the M10 that goes down Columbus. Songs that explode through my face, through the windshields and the strap hangers, through state houses and barbecues and banquets and boutiques, through memory and confrontation, through love and affection, to reach some other side of what a song should be. Sounds with no melody, only animal.
You know, one of the things that I value about you and our friendship as writers and people is what you've taught me about how every poem is a love poem.
Oh, yes.
Every poem. And, and even just no matter what, that's the engine behind even the sad poems are love poems. And the engine of love in your poems catches everything as it moves through the world. Like you start moving and you start pulling things in, and the whole world is tied up in your poems. And I love that capaciousness of the vision in your work and the generosity of your eye that goes with your heart. Yeah. Remember that story you told at my school about the corned beef sandwich?
I do not.
Come on.
I don't remember.
You told us, you came to my school and you said that, maybe it wasn't at school, somewhere. You said that the corned beef sandwich, you might have loved poem by throwing a corned beef sandwich under the bus.
I said that? I don't remember.
Yeah, it was amazing. You said something like that you have to have a corned beef sandwich to make the poem, or like to throw a sandwich under the bus, and like the tension that creates.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, I probably have the story wrong, but I love. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Well, it's like go. Yeah, and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You go.
No. I mean, I really appreciate that. I think that. Well, I don't know what I think. I was talking to somebody the other day about being 15 and loving language, and I had so much love in my heart. I mean, I still do, but a 15-year-old love in my heart, for like everything and everybody. And I didn't know what to do with any of it, the love. And the only thing that I could think about, or the only thing that felt right, was to just write poems. It like helped to contain somehow all of that feeling, or put it into some kind of box, which of course always exploded. And so I think that's why it's so easy for me to write all the time, because the box is always getting broken. So, and your poems too, like, I'm serious. Your poems, I think about your poems all the time. Like I walk around with your poems all the time. I'm going to cry now, so you go read.
Okay, I'm going to read. I was just
like a love fest. It's a Kerrin Matthew love fest.
Well, and the thing about this series is this idea of literary friendships feels really special, and later on we can talk about how we met, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to read this poem called "Objects in Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear," which is very much a poem that reminds me of things I've learned from you and your poems. Objects in mirror are closer than they appear. And what isn't closer than you thought? Start with bills so sweet over the transom, with the polite origami of their envelopes, as if inviting you out of the house, out of doors, away from your infernal typing. Come, visit, until they come again and again, closer and closer, like texts from an ex-husband that you have cleverly given his own ringtone, the science fiction one, so that every time he wants something, he breaks into your village home like a flying saucer landing on Earth, so close all of a sudden, the peace and quiet you have built shattered, and there he is, ray gun brandished, demanding what time, how much, why not, why don't you ever? If you would only, I need to know these things. If you want any money, you have to maintain the spreadsheet, blaster, phaser, rocket grenade, the phone lighting up at night with him, lasers blasting the bedroom blue. He is suddenly closer than he appears, so that all you want, since the first one feels so small behind you, is another divorce, a bigger one, like a shield. Anger behind you, after all, is closer than it appears, and never stops following like a small dog worrying the insides of his thighs with small teeth while you try to sleep. The skateboarders at night clack, clack, clacking down the sidewalk outside the window, louder than they should be in the village night, when all else is still, or should be, leaving you to dream of your daughter, who has gotten smaller, farther away, sleeping in a dorm like a barracks, amid piles of impossible textbooks and labs. The first few weeks bigger than you thought when you stared down the barrel of time until she left for real, gone away what could be forever, which is a really long time, considering what the mirror says, whichever one is kinder, under the light of which sun you have organized above it. Your face held there in various lights, you smiling, because that is what to do in a mirror. Smile in greeting, as if you don't know yourself. The sincere greeting for passersby, the hello of myself, bigger than I know, smiling at others, the lines of my eyes deepening, so that I offer bird feet in greeting, the tufted spines of my plumage, gray, growing downy, my neck bowed more than I know, leaning studiously toward you, as if I care, not as if now that is how it goes, bent, looking closer into the mirror than I care to. Like, I want to, before you read, just to give you a second, the one of the things I was writing down, I was thinking about your work earlier, is the way that you have permission, you've claimed this permission to leap in your poems, to let something begin and then let it move somewhere else and just keep roving. And that's one of the things that this poem, I tried to do in this poem, is to let it keep making its shifts. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do. I think you do. I mean, I know you do that too. One of the things, and I've thought about this a lot when thinking about your work. One of the things that I'm envious of, or I work towards, is you have an ability to be restrained or more crafted in your poems than I feel like I am in my poems. And I wish I had more of that, because I'm too messy and too sloppy in the whole process. I mean, I love that, but it's something that I've always envied about how you do that. And here's a messy, kind of sloppy love poem. This is from the book. It's called "Someone Will Love You Many Times." Someone will love you many times over and over a red flame, over $1 million, and someone will love you $1 million. You'll be loved from all over and from pockets and sandwiches, and someone will stick her hand through a plate glass window to love you, and from between two sheets. Over and over and many times love will come at you from a rooftop with billowy sheets, and Miley Cyrus will love you, and so will Spiro Agnew. Many times the earth will love your stomach, for many times and for the thousands of times you have answered the door and no one was there. For many times you were down on your knees between the tile and the toilet. Someone will take your hair and hold it behind your head many, many times over and over. Someone will walk with you down the summer path, all those pink and purple wildflowers getting wild for you, getting wild for your love and for the stench of your absence. You will send it back time and time again when the buildings shake, when the show is over, when the shadows creep tall into your tall brain and mess it up. It is a truth that can't be untruthed, that someone will love you many times, no matter how tired they are. The way a blade of grass takes itself not too seriously and grinds out other blades of grass. Look at them out there, all stupid and green in the backyard. Count them all. I bet you can't. That's how many times you will be loved. Count them all. I bet you can't. By someone who couldn't be more serious about love and is.
This idea of you made this funny comment about messiness and mess, and then you read a really crafted poem.
No, it was messy.
No, it's full of amazing repetition,
So messy.
Sound and music. And it's so beautiful. I sent that to my son today, and he wrote back, "Mom, that's beautiful." So, and I also the way that you use the word stupid in that poem, it's just like, I've never heard the word stupid sound so beautiful. You know, it's not a word that I think most poets wouldn't reach for that word, and then it transcends its little moment of surprise. I'm gonna read a love poem because that's about being loved, right? It's a short poem called "Getting Ready for Bed." Yes, I have cleared the signals off the dresser. Oh, this is from my book too. Wait, I'll start again. From my book.
Look at the colors.
I know they match. Look how beautiful they are. I have not read, this is my first reading from this book, so it's very nice to hold it and be able to read from it. Getting ready for bed. Yes, I have cleared the signals off the dresser and keep sweeping auguries from the oak floor. What are we but a scroll of worries? I keep gadgets not needed for any tragedy, tape measures and screwdrivers for everything. I sing songs to the red chest of tools in the garage, thanking them for safety. We always laugh, going headlong. Life and limb, I said. Life and limb when we got married. The pig behind the barn starting to brown. We kissed tongue twisters and answers under the disco ball, upon which I insisted. Take your medicine, I think, while I brush my teeth every night, standing on one foot. You think I'm ridiculous. I never tell you the crane is a symbol for long life.
Yes. I know, I can't wait for the book either. Somebody just wrote in the chat, can't wait for this book, Kerrin.
Well, I've been waiting a long time for it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
got, Lippman?
I got what?
I said, what you got?
I got a naked poem. There's all this love happening. So here's some nakedness. This is a poem called As Natural as Finland. And it has to do with saunas. So I'm gonna say hello to Beth Roberts. So this is a true story, or it really happened. A long time ago, I walked into the courtyard of PS1, the museum in Queens, and the artist Pia Lindman asked me to take off my clothes. She said, sign this, and I signed it, and I took my clothes off in the courtyard and got into the portable sauna she constructed with oak slabs and tarp. This was performance art, or public art, or the art of the body meets the rubble of the city. I was round in the belly, and the woman next to me was naked too. The sauna was big enough for two, and we were in there with a red sheet preventing us from seeing each other naked. But we were in the courtyard naked, so we moved the sheet aside and said hello. Our bodies saying hello. This was not a sexual hello. This was not an us wanting to have sex in the courtyard of PS1 hello, known for its exhibitions of performance art. We were not exhibitionists or performers. We just wanted this to be Finland, the way people in Finland get naked and get in the sauna like they take the dog out for a walk or fall down the stairs. This was Queens, but sometimes you have to stretch things out a bit. I don't remember the woman's name, but I want so badly to be naked in the world right now. It hurts. It's 8 degrees outside and it hurts. And if there was a sauna in my driveway, I'd undress, fall down the stairs and hop in. I'd invite the neighbors and their families and the postwoman and the FedEx guy, and we'd all sit around sweating, and it'd be as natural as walking the dog in Finland. Not the courtyard of PS1, where everything was always a little too much about the mind anyway. Somewhere on the internet, there is a picture of me and that woman, butt naked, getting into the sauna, flab and boobs and balls and flesh. It's a beautiful picture because today we're all so stuck inside, boarded up, and can only have dreams of that dry, hot air meeting the dry, naked flesh. Bodies, lots of bodies sitting together at the round table of sitting together.
You know what I miss on Zoom readings is applause. I want to clap, right? So I'm like always too afraid to write the naked poems, right? So I'm not like afraid. I feel like I just always kind of bomb them. So I don't have any naked poems. I'm like, I got nothing. That's like, you just like stumped me. You played your card and now your hand, and now I'm like, I'm out. But I'm going to read a poem about what's under the body. Okay, so a piece of this book is about going back to Ireland. A lot of my book is about home and various incarnations of home and broken homes, and there's a lot of brokenness. So So I've gone, my grandfather's farm is a place I've refound in Ireland, and I go back there. I try to go every summer, but I'm averaging every other summer now. And I stay with my cousin, and we ride around through the bogs and the mountains on his four-wheeler with his dog. He likes to go to the Holy Well to get holy water for his house. This is called Coletter Forest, Father McLaughlin's Well. We cut through the forest to check the sheep on the far mountain and stop to fill our bottles. Sitka spruce make a grid filled with moss. Above the holy water on a shelf, this shrine. Baby toys, wrappers of pills, prayer cards, Star Wars posters. Jesus, his beard chipped, pointing to his flaming heart. Next to him, another Jesus, broken ankles, alabaster, hollow and full of leaves. A hole clear through his chest. Baby dolls, a cane, and face down there, another Jesus slumped beside the shotgun shells, packs of cigarettes, snow globes. Near inhalers and Hello Kitty and zipped baggies of jewelry and charms, another Jesus, hands open. We kneel to bless ourselves. Midges worry the air until they find us. Nearby, in the asphodel in the wet ditch, horse bones, almost clean, look like what I think I am underneath.
Oh, yeah, it's time. Okay.
Thursdays or Sundays are better for you.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
It's COVID
Sorry
time,
that the
man.
last couple of Sundays.
Francine, you gotta mute yourself.
It's fine.
Sorry.
Francine,
Fine.
Francine, what are you
You
doing?
had a funeral.
But they both work well.
Somebody's gonna mute Francine.
I'm either or, whatever works. Let's do it next week. You let me know.
Francine, what's up, Francine? You gotta mute yourself. There she goes.
Love you, honey.
Yo, for those of you who haven't read American Wake, I got a copy. There's so much land in the book. So many of these poems are about Ireland and home, and I couldn't help but think about Seamus Heaney and it's, but even when the poems are not about Ireland or the land of Ireland, they're about the land. Like, this whole poem is the earth. It's, death and family and the soil from which everything springs. So go get the book. When you can go get it now, actually, right after we you can get it while we're doing this, right, Kerrin?
Yeah, you can get yours while we're doing this too.
But forget about mine. Mine's really old, but I'm telling you, go get her book.
Will you? Can I request a poem?
Go ahead.
Will you read "They Dug Up Their Joy and Buried It Again"?
Sure.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I just got excited about wanting to hear this poem.
Yeah, sorry. They dug up their joy and buried it again. This is from the book. The kids walked out. They walked out into the driveway and the lawn. They walked down the roadway and into the forest. They found the guns and buried the guns. They cried into their guns and the memories of their friends who had no time. Time to sledgehammer and time to have sex. Time to talk against the wind and time to rest. They walked into the forest and planted their eyes and their lips, dug up the ground with shovels made from guns and planted their arms and their feet. What else could they do? They jumped over streams and their chests were torn up by branches and thorns. They did not care. They were wet. They were naked and there were no masks. The Estee Lauder masks and the Aztec masks. They ripped up the earth and buried their lungs and their eyebrows. You couldn't find a phone or a circuit board. There were no computers or submarines. They walked out into the forest, and the forest opened up its forest arms and welcomed them with forest spit and grime. All the kids, every single kid. And they buried the guns, and next to the guns, they buried their fingernails and their joy. They dug up their joy and buried it again, and their sadness, anxiety, and the memories of their friends and roller coasters and their friends smoking dope. They were naked, and in the springtime when the snow had melted and the sun was warm, the forest floor burst with caterpillars and ferns, and the kids walked back out from the forest floor. They were filthy and naked, and there was so much green it was blinding. I haven't read that poem in like 5 years. Thank you. And now I get to request one.
Okay.
My mother talks to her son about her heart.
Okay.
Look out.
26.
Look out, Cliff Coy. Look out.
My mother talks to her son about her heart. So what? So what that you grew inside of someone else? It doesn't mean you aren't in here now. In here, right here. Oh, my heart. What's in here is not all my own anymore anyway. There's Teflon and stitching. Other people's hands have been in here. By this, I mean to tell you there is room. There is a house in here I had hoped to fill. I saved clothes forever, waiting for more babies, so I wanted you. I always wanted you. A heart has 4 rooms. You are one son. There is room. When I was young and wanting to bring you home, they found the hole in my heart and patched it. I grow older and the outside door fails, and so I get a new one. In the lumberyard of the heart, the materials are strange. Teflon, like I said, for the hole, and a valve from a cow to seal the doorway. Over and over, I shore this place up. Steady, old girl, I say to my heart, and I call in its ticks to the doctor. I love her like I love you, like I have always loved you. She calls me back and reads my stats. I call your sister and tell her the score, that I am always winning another day. Steady, steady, ticks the pacemaker. I keep a good house, you know that. These days, I keep my heart like a summer cottage. The light is bright and warm. I won't speak of anything else. You forget all the time. You are supposed to come home. You are supposed to know these things. You are supposed to know which door to knock on, that I will open it.
Yes. You know when you get like a fine glass of Amarone, the legs, right? The legs, the legs of the wine, right?
Yeah.
Then they just keep going. Like that poem. I love that poem. Ooh, ooh, forever.
Forever. TLA, true love always.
How we doing on time? What do we got?
We could just keep reading all night. Everybody be like, okay, we're done with you people. Well, it's 7:36. We're almost to questions.
Yeah, why don't you both either read one more poem each or request one more poem each of each other, and then we can switch it to Q&A.
Okay. I'll read a poem, then you read a poem, and then we'll go Q&A. How about that?
Yeah, bingo.
Okay. I've been working on this book called FM, like FM radio, and all the poems are about music. And this one begins with Justin Bieber. It's called Ache on the Train. Justin Bieber wrote, "I'm so obsessed with you, it hurts. The last time love drilled its fat head into my gut was post-Thanksgiving dinner in 92 Uptown. So I hurled myself midtown to some Chinese restaurant near the 59th Street Bridge to meet you. I ached on the train, my knees falling apart like some kid had smashed her Lego design with a pine tree. My tongue so swollen, the Jamaican street singer handed me a blow pop to cool the swell. But I made it to you, and we ate dumplings in the sides of each other's faces and flossed with our hair and held hands under the table. The walls were red and the fish in the aquarium were orange. The city was an empty dinosaur and a broken megaphone. That's how we liked it. And things were good and things hurt so bad. That's how good they were. But we couldn't figure it out, what to do with one another. The hot and sour soup, the spicy General Gao's. Nothing else existed. It hurt so sweet until some months later when we knew we couldn't figure out how to manage. And there I was, alone in my bathroom, holding on to the monkey bars of the towel rack with 2 hands. The city was an alligator gnashing its steel teeth and an onion exploding over Brooklyn. I held on and you were down the street and across the Gowanus, and it was the last time I swore love would hurt like this. I smashed my head against the subway tile to get it out, over and over till the blood spotted the wall, and I left it there to remind me not to return. And I haven't since, but every day, Justin, I miss that pain. Those red walls and her fingers under the table, dripping with dumpling pork grease that always filled us up.
Yeah. This is a poem called Awake, and I wrote it out of using, I like to do little projects. It's the language of playing marbles, the game of marbles. But it's not about marbles. Awake. This morning, I brambled toward waking. Alarm, 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 snarling my dreams like little girls around a pile of marbles arguing quitsies, no quitsies. This morning, I don't know. This morning, I am lagging with my dead, reminding them they have already gone first. I knuckle down on the day, make strides and comebacks. I ride a train and write and keep crossing out the word rather. I never know what I want until afternoon and sometimes trim the walkway instead of thinking. I pull the curtain on who I am, keep shame from my sleeping like a terrarium of whistles. Somewhere, someone finds me phenomenal. I stand so tall and keep the future as a pet. Together we swim the headwaters like children who don't know the rules. I forget who is playing for fair and who for keeps. I actually forgot that I took a lot of the marbles language out of that poem. Anyway, I lied.
It's good to lie.
Yeah, that's what poets do. We lie.
Thank you so much. I wanted to invite everyone who's in the room to unmute and give a hoot or a holler or a round of applause for our two poets reading tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kerrin.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Yeah, so thank you so much for reading, especially the new pandemic poem, and then new work, your new project, Matthew. It's nice to hear, both your current projects and your almost here book, Kerrin, and also stuff that's fresh and new. Does anyone have like a burning question you want to ask Kerrin or Matthew or both of these dear poets who are with us tonight? Feel free to drop your question in the chat or unmute and go ahead and ask. Yes, go ahead.
Me?
C. Gardner, yes.
Yeah, that's me. You said you were going to tell us how you met.
Go for it, Kerrin.
Oh, well, okay. So we were both in a journal together. We were published in a journal together, Pank, like, I don't know, 11 years ago, 100 million years ago. And then he wrote me an email and he's like, dude, who are you? And I was like, I was just wondering the same thing about you. I was just reading your poem. And then we started a correspondence. So we met by being in a journal together and doing that thing that poets do, which I love, is like reaching out and saying like, I like your work. Thank you for what you did. And then we started a correspondence, and then he invited me to his school and I invited him to my school because we're both high school teachers. And then we've been pals ever since. What did I leave out? Anything? That's pretty much it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It was like, it was just sort of, I saw this poem of hers and again, like it did to me what pop songs do to me. And I think we spend a lot of time, too much time alone and not enough time reaching out to other people to say, what's up? You know, that thing really rocked me, or I love that. And it's so easy to do, especially in this era of technology. I don't know why we don't do it more. And I'm so happy that I did it when I saw Kerrin's poem. So, yeah. It's the other thing too, and this has nothing to do with, I seem to be having all of these epiphanies or whatever about poetry. Like poetry, I can't figure out why or what or whatever, but it's really about helping to facilitate and foster connection. I mean, I guess anything is, but poetry seems to be doing that more now than ever before, both for me and I think in the country.
It's as evidenced by the success of moving poetry into Zoom. People are happy to connect. People are happy to come together. I think more people come to Zoom readings than would come to physical readings sometimes. Like people really appreciate being able to hear poetry in their houses.
Okay, I agree with that. And it's been like a real joy to connect with people from all over the country and in different time zones and in different countries to be here together. I have a question from Nathan. Nathan asks, we have been obviously living in a time of not only uncertainty, but scarcity. And while I know many of your poems had been written long ago, the thing I love about both of your work is how they enact generosity that we're not often given permission for. Could you both talk about the role of generosity in your work, and please interpret generosity how you like? Nathan, do you have a particular way that you define generosity, or do you want that to be interpreted by the poets?
I think I'd like it to be interpreted by the poets. I'd probably define it in a number of ways, but I'd love to hear what they both have to say about it. I mean, and I think it's something that I gather from any time I've read or heard any of your work. It's just something that the work just sort of emits as a real generosity. So thank you for that.
I could say something about that. First, hi Nathan, thanks for that question. Nice to see you. I always think about the thing that brought me to poetry is a real tenderness for the world. I just feel incredibly tender about everything I see and experience. And I think I'm kind of a sarcastic person I might put a front up, but I feel very tender about the world. And I think of myself as a poet as having a Velcro suit on and things stick to me, that poets move through the world and stuff sticks to us. And we have to pull it off and use it. And I feel like a lot of things stick to me and I want to bring them into poems. I want to put as much of the stuff of the world that I see and catch as I can as a way to sort of love it.
Nathan, if this was a different time and this reading was live and then there was this Q&A thing happening, I think I'd get out of my seat or wherever I was and I'd come over and I'd give you a hug. No, I'm serious, because this word generosity or being generous is something that I feel like when I talk about other people's poems, I feel like I'm the only one using this word and now you use it and I'm like, oh my God, what's up? And it's so true. I think for me, the way I interpret it is, or the way it resonates for me is, I want poems, not my own poems, but everybody's poems, to embrace the reader, right? To hold the reader in a way that is tender and honest and surprising and accessible. Because I feel like poetry can very easily push people away. And I don't want poems to do that. I want poems to bring people closer. And we're all just hanging around a campfire and somebody's got a guitar and there's a circle. And I know it's very sentimental, but so I really, really am moved by your question and appreciate it deeply. Thank you. So next time I see you, if I ever see you, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Give you a hug. You cool with that? I'm glad.
I would welcome it.
Excellent.
Matthew, I wanted to invite you to speak more about your Love's Executive Order project, and what was it like curating that? And I know that you also contributed to that, Kerrin. So I don't know if you could, Kerrin, if you would like to speak to thinking about that, his project as almost like a writing prompt, or if the poem originated before and then you send it to Matthew, or if you solicited it. And also, Matthew, if you could describe the project for people who might not know about your project.
Well, so Trump got it, and he got, I was going to say enrolled. He got elected. I wanted to do something. I'm not the type of person that goes out and marches or any of that stuff. And I remember that in high school, my AP European history teacher, Donald Morrison, when Reagan was elected, decided that he was going to grow his beard, and he would only cut it when Reagan. So he had an 8-year-old beard. So I'm like, what can I do in that vein? And then I came up with this idea to post a poem a week that was a response to what was going on in America, the Trump presidency, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's how, or that's what Love's Executive Order was about. And I ran it for 4 years. Every Friday, a new poem. Kerrin had a poem. Nathan had a poem. Michael Morse, Beth Roberts, a couple people here. Kerrin's poem, the last, she had two, I think you had 2 poems, right?
I think so.
The second poem, she had got the most reads of any poem over the course of the 4 years. In like 3 days, 7,000 people had read it. And that's because to Nathan's point, it was extraordinarily generous in spirit. So.
Well, and there's so few, like, about that project, there's so few venues for contemporary work that's like really, really in the moment. And there's so few venues for work that's responding to the world around us, because publishing takes sometimes years to come out. Like a poem, you get a poem accepted, it's like in a year you'll see it somewhere. And the ability of your project to snatch the moment of what was happening politically and put it in front of people was so exciting, you know. And I always wonder how it was to run that series, you know, that journal. I mean, essentially it's a journal. Like, how did you keep it going week after week without being like, I'm not doing this anymore? Like, that's a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
It just became like anything else I did. Also, Valerie Bandura had a poem, Valerie Finn, she's on here too. And it was just a labor of love. You know, I made a commitment and stuck to it and reached out to people, and people submitted. And so it was really, I think, just about, Lauren Camp had a poem, she's on here too. It was just about sort of creating a kind of community around this time that we're living in. And that fueled me, even though it became a bit of a pain in the ass towards the end. No joke.
Well, yeah, no, I was one of your subscribers, and I really appreciated the in the moment receiving of the work that was submitted and published through. And yeah, I can only imagine how much extra work that is, and I really appreciate that, the endeavor of the project and then the intention behind it.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. One is from Josette, and they're wondering, do your kids ever say anything about their cameos in your poems? And that might be a question that we could generally say, how do you feel about writing about the people in your life that might appear in your poems?
It's like inevitable and hard. You know, it's like it's an ethical landscape, right? Like, how do we write about our families? I mean, a lot of my book, I didn't read any of the poems about losing my brother, but you know, that's it's a tough, I don't know, it's just tough. Matthew, you talk about it.
I don't care. Like, you know, if you're gonna say stuff and you're gonna be around, you're gonna get into a poem. I think my older daughter kind of will give me some shit, but she secretly likes it. And the younger one, I think, is the same way. I think, you know, but I write it just about everyday stuff, so they're every day, and it's again inevitable, as Kerrin said.
And
Yeah.
they're love poems, like we're
Yeah,
always
it's all
writing
love.
love poems to our kids and our families. And,
Yeah.
there's my daughter at the bottom. Hi, Em. So, yeah.
I liked that reaction of it's inevitable and it's hard. I really appreciate that response. Valerie Finn is wondering about permission, and I think the word Kerrin used, the word surprise, seem to be threads in both of your work. Could you speak to that in your current work and maybe whether the last few years have deepened its insistence? And then you got it. We like it mostly, Kerrin. From here.
My husband, when I married my husband, I don't know, like 5 years ago or 3 years ago, we got together 10 years ago. And I was like, I'm a writer. He's like, yeah, it's kind of like dating a stand-up comic. I get it. Like, I'm going to be your material. I'm not getting into this if I don't know. But the kids don't have a choice, right? So anyway, Emma. Well, I think surprise is, I'll just start with this one. I think surprise is how poems work, like they when we are moved, when we get hit by a poem and something rocks us, I think technically it's usually because something surprising happened. It's like a joke, right? Like how jokes work. Like you think something's happening a certain way and then there's a shift and then, oh, there's the punchline. Like I think poems have a lot of that structure and surprise inherent in them. And when the surprise hits you, that's where the emotion creeps in.
Yeah, and I think the thing about surprise is that it creates this internal tension or pressure that prevents the poem from being a postcard. And I think it's so important, and it takes so much time to figure out how to do that, or it did for me. And so if you can pull the rug out from under your own feet, and then subsequently the reader's feet, I think that's something to work towards and for in every poem, and not to just do it once, but to do it at least 3 times to create that tension. Mm-hmm. If that makes any sense.
I don't know if everyone saw Nathan McLean's comment, but he says, I've had exes who were upset because they didn't make it into a poem. They felt so slighted. So I like how thinking how that like writing about someone in your life means you care enough to do so, or not. A little bit of shade there, huh?
Yep.
What are there a few more questions from the room, or do you have any questions for each other? Matthew, do you want to talk about more about that, the project you're working on for the poems that you're working on, the Justin Bieber example?
It's just, if I could do all this over again, I'd be a musician, because I think, I don't know, music is my first love, but I didn't have any talent writing songs. So I just have been writing a ton of poems that are full of musical references or that are inspired by songs, and I'm trying to
poetry Zoom
to get put the best ones together for this collection called FM, which is just about music. They're just poems about music or inspired by music. Yeah, not Justin Bieber.
Every time that I feel sad or things are hard, you always tell me to listen to Astral Weeks.
Oh yeah.
Like you get a prescription for a musical prescription.
Just listen to Astral Weeks.
Right. Just listen to Astral Weeks. You'll be good.
Or Mahalia Jackson. Either one, it's fine. So that's the project I'm working on now. It's coming along slowly. Yeah.
Kerrin, do you have upcoming, I'm going to drop your website link into the chat, as well as Matthew's, in case people in the room haven't got your hands on either of our poets who are reading tonight their books. And Nathan says, I think that's also what's great about both of your work, the fact that you craft speakers and are poets who are ever surprised by the ordinary. I was recently teaching Szymborska's Notes on a Non-Existent Himalayan Expedition, great poem, and it seems exactly about just that, wonder about the ordinary.
Mhm. And during a pandemic, the ordinary is often all we can see, right? There's like, it's what we're surrounded by. Yeah.
This was awesome.
Yeah, thank you
Great.
so much for being
Thank you for
here.
everything,
reading.
everybody for showing up.
So nice to see all these faces. So nice to see you all. Thank you
My
for
light keeps going up. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. It's been really fun to hang out with people in this virtual venue and to hear, I never knew how you met and now I know, and I love knowing this about you too, and that how those connections were formed, and that just makes me really happy. Like I'm gonna do that. I want to emulate that. I want to
Yes.
reach out to a poet
Yeah.
and be like, damn, I love that poem. I'm gonna email that person.
I know it's so important.
Like, I was trying to find the original email and I was like, oh God, there's like 500 emails. Like I went back to the beginning and I couldn't figure out. I was like, I don't know where it is. I was going to read it tonight, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, no, like what an honor to get a note from a random reader a stranger you've never met, but somehow you were connected by your work. And I'm really grateful to be able to record these readings because they'll be shared and go wider. Someone might stumble upon this reading and be like, oh, who's Kerrin McCadden? Like, oh, who's Matthew Lippman? Like, it makes me really happy to be able to do this for you all. And yeah, so a couple people are dropping some notes in the chat, and I also dropped in Vermont Studio Center's event calendar. We have a lot of other things coming up this month, so feel free to join us. And I'm going to hold the Zoom room open for about 5 more minutes, just so people can say hello to our poets and do a little chit chat and ask me any questions you might have about Vermont Studio Center. But yeah, our time is up, unfortunately. And this has been the best way the way I want to spend my Thursday night. So I hope you all have a good rest of your evenings and go get those books. Yeah. Kerrin?
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, no, it's
Thank you,
my pleasure.
Kerrin.
Thanks
All
everyone.
love.
Matthew, thank you.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Pam.
Thanks to the both of you. Sorry if I was hogging the chat, Audsley. I do that.
Oh,
Oh
good.
no, I love
Hop
your
away.
questions.
You're like Mr. Good Questions.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, Nathan and I go way back.
Way back.
Yeah, to I don't know, 2012, 2013.
Yeah, it was probably like 2013 or about 2013.
Yeah, and yeah, so I don't know. It's a special thing to have poet friends in your life.
And it's funny, it was Kerrin who actually, I think, who sent me Matthew's way in terms of Love's Executive Order. Like
Mhm.
after a
Yes, that's
harrowing
correct.
bus ride to go and visit Kerrin.
I have to
Oh,
go. I
yeah.
have another reading.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I've heard a little bit
Yeah,
about
really
this.
great.
Thank you, everybody.
have fun. at
Have a
the
great
other
night.
Thanks.
Hi, Ruth. Nice to see you. Hi, David.